Hello, this is Dr. Dennis Bielfeldt of the Christ School of Theology. Today we're talking about semantic theory in the Middle Ages. And we're basically around the 12th century, heading into the 13th. It's a very general series of lectures here because, of course, to do this well, one would have to talk about each thinker and how that thinker differs from another thinker on a particular aspect of semantic theory. But what we can do in a lecture like this is get some of the important notions out on the table so you can see how they were doing things. The word of the moment is impositio. The impositio of a term is its imposition. So you would have a term with a significatio. Term signifies something, but the term would perhaps signify the common nature of the thing. And then the further question comes in how this term, like let's say ox, relates to individual creatures. Well, you would say that the term ox, that's the English term, we have to have a different term in Latin, is imposed upon a particular beasts out there, right? And if there is an imposition of the term ox to this beast so that it's imposed just on all those beasts with common nature of ox in them, then you would say that the term has a single imposition. A single imposition of the term implies a single signification of the term. Univocation results in a word used multiply with the same signification. So if every time you use the word ox, you're using it with the same signification, that's a univocal usage. Equivocatio, right? Equivocatio results when a word is used multiply with different significations due to different impositions. So I suppose I could use the word ox to signify those creatures and some other creature as well. My favorite example is bank. I could have a word bank and it's imposed on those things I sit on when I fish, right? Or those things I sit in when I'm trying to get a line of credit, right? There you go. I'm in a bank, sitting in it, looking for a line of credit, and I'm sitting on a bank fishing for a catfish, right? So there would be an equivocation because I'm using the term with two different significations, and then it would supposit for different things. However, even a univocal signification can hold of different things. A term can name or stand for different things. For instance, if you take the word homo, which means man, right? That can stand for a nature, human nature, or it can stand for the individual having a human nature, or it can stand for a word. Homo, what? Standardly, we talk about a use-mention distinction in contemporary philosophy. We use the word homo to mention homo, right? Homo in single quotes is used to mention the word homo, right? Okay, well, the Latins didn't, in the Middle Ages, they didn't develop the parentheses in this way, so they would talk about different kinds of appellation or supposition. When the word homo could supposit for an individual or it could supposit for a name. Okay, now back to appellatio. There's no way a person can get mixed up in any of this stuff, is there? Appellatio is important early in the Middle Ages, but later on we see that its use declines, and the word suppositio tends to arise. And of course, early on, the term suppositio is equivalent to subjectio. Subjectio means putting as a grammatical subject. So suppositio has this grammatical connotation. So early on in the tradition, the suppositum is not the thing referred to, but it is the grammatical subject of the sentence. However, writers, particularly those with nominalistic tendencies, right? Subliminal nominalistic tendencies, either overt or covert, appellatio becomes a category that has semantic primacy over significatio. And then, of course, our ampliation and our restriction are of our appellationes, or appellations, and not of suppositions, at least earlier on. But as we go forward, this changes a bit. One view claims that the noun appellat, that the noun names, appellat, each thing comprehended under it. But it signifies the term only in an indeterminate way, right? It names particular things, but signifies only the nature indeterminately. As I said, gradually appellatio gives way to suppositio in medieval theory, because the latter's connotation, suppositio's connotation of the subjectio, allowed for a reference to natures, words, and individuals. So suppositio became a wider category, if you will. And so then suppositio becomes a general property of terms. So you're saying, well, what's happening by the 13th century? And I'm glad you asked that question, because by the 13th century, a term's actual reference became more important than its abstract significatio. Signification. The grammatical logical subject of a proposition, the id de quo, that by which linked the subject matter, which is the id de quo sermo fit, that by which the word becomes, that by which the word is, to that the grammatical subject of the proposition, the id, that by which links to the that by which the word is or becomes, to the that by which, see, you learn a little Latin here too, right? That by which truth est, truth is said. That by which truth is said, locutio, that's supposed to say. So all of these can be talked about under this category of the supponere pro, which means standing for. So supposition has this connotation of standing for. All right, so we are going to take a little break here before we move into this next section. And you are listening to a little lecture on medieval semantics from the Christ School of Theology of the Institute of Lutheran Theology. Thank you. I'm Dr. Dennis Bielfeldt.